Hi everyone, Greater Richmond Fit for Kids here with a video on planting and transplanting. So we start by loosening and fluffing up the soil. This is so that the roots can move really easily and freely, so that the water is sucked down into the soil like a sponge. We're not going to leave any hills or valleys behind. We don't want the water to distribute unevenly. We're also going to take out any clumps. There I find a little acorn that has started to grow into a tree, taking out any rocks that you might find in your soil, things that roots can't move through, okay? So I'm going to begin by gently taking my kale plant out of the little plastic pot that it has come in. You can see the roots there on that plant are nice and wiggly. They are ready to be moved into the ground. I am just going to dig a hole that is deep enough to cover all of the soil that the plant came with, all of its roots, almost up to the first set of leaves. So you obviously don't want to bury any of the leaves because that's how the plant takes in its sunlight, that's how it gets energy. So I will show you where I am transplanting these 4 kale plants. So they are in plastic pots. Sometimes your transplants can be what we call root bound, which is when a plant is growing in a plastic pot, it is not getting as much air as it does in the soil or in a fabric pot. So sometimes you have to kind of gently break up those roots. You're not going to hurt the plant, you're just telling it that it's time to start growing again. Those roots don't need to continue to be tangled. They can start spreading out into that nice, loose, fluffy soil. So you can see there, you just kind of gently pinch the roots until they're wiggling down at the bottom there. So you do the same thing as you did with the other 2 plants. You just bury it deep enough so that you can cover up all of those roots, but none of the leaves. Now this last one you can really see is pretty root bound. So you are just going to gently pinch until those roots start to wiggle out away from each other, and then you can plant it. So there we're just going to smooth the soil back out. We are getting ready to plant some seeds in between these kale plants. So I have some cilantro seeds here. I'm going to make a shallow row. The rule of thumb is that you plant your seeds twice as deep as they are big. But you can also just use the side of your hand to make a nice shallow straight row. I plant 1 cilantro seed every few inches and then just lightly cover it up. So cilantro is actually a companion plant to kale. It can attract some beneficial insects. Sometimes it needs a little bit of shade as it gets warmer in the summertime. It can bolt or start to produce its seeds pretty quickly, so the kale is going to provide it some of that shade, and it's going to provide the kale some beneficial insects, hopefully. So as you can see, it's really simple. You just make that shallow, straight row, plant 1 every few inches, and then pinch lightly to cover it up. Just like with the transplants, we're not patting down really super hard on top of these seeds or the roots of the plants. We want them to be able to move really freely. That is why we loosened up the soil in the first place. So after you finish planting your seeds, you are going to water very thoroughly to avoid any transplant shock and to get those seeds started growing. That's all it takes. Thanks for joining.